Ladies and gentlemen, listen carefully. There is a profound truth hidden within the fabric of life that many of us, in our pursuit of freedom, fail to grasp. Freedom is not the same as lack of responsibility. As we age, we grow wiser, more capable, but also more vulnerable to the choices we make. Some of these choices can unravel our lives in ways we cannot foresee. There are 4 types of people, 4 types of homes that, no matter how free you become, should be avoided. These homes will shape you, mold you, and not always for the better. If you wish to preserve your soul, your direction, and your integrity, stay away. Freedom is often misunderstood. People believe that as they grow older, gaining independence means they can do whatever they want without consequences. But true freedom is not simply the absence of restrictions. It is the ability to make responsible choices that shape a meaningful life. Without responsibility, freedom turns into recklessness, and recklessness leads to suffering. As people gain more control over their lives, they must understand that every decision carries weight. The places they go, the company they keep, and the habits they form will define their character over time. No one is immune to the influence of their surroundings. If someone consistently exposes themselves to negative environments, even unintentionally, they will begin to absorb the values, beliefs, and attitudes of those around them. This is why it is crucial to be selective about the people one engages with, particularly when stepping into different homes and social circles. There is a misconception that exposure to all kinds of people is harmless, that one can simply observe without being affected. But the human mind is not invulnerable. It is constantly shaped by the experiences it absorbs. When individuals spend time in toxic environments, whether with bitter, undisciplined, envious, or self-deceived people, they risk internalizing those traits. At first, they may resist, dismissing certain behaviors as something they would never adopt. But over time, constant exposure erodes even the strongest convictions. A person who frequently listens to complaints about life's unfairness may start to believe they too are a victim. Someone who spends time in chaotic, undisciplined households may begin excusing their own lack of order. These small shifts in thinking can have profound long-term consequences. The essence of responsibility lies in recognizing that freedom is not an excuse for carelessness. People often justify visiting toxic places or engaging with harmful individuals under the pretense of being open-minded or non-judgmental. But wisdom is knowing when to walk away. It is not about arrogance. It is about self-preservation. Life is difficult enough without willingly stepping into environments that make it even harder. As individuals age, their most valuable asset becomes their ability to choose wisely. Freedom grants that power, but it also demands accountability. Every choice builds the foundation of one's future. Therefore, the question is not simply where one is free to go, but rather what kind of person they are becoming by going there. Bitterness is a slow and corrosive poison, and those who allow it to take root in their hearts become prisoners of their own resentment. When you step into the home of a bitter person, you are not just entering a physical space. You are walking into an emotional environment shaped by disappointment, anger, and regret. These individuals have often faced hardships, some of which may be truly unjust. But instead of learning, adapting, or growing stronger, they have chosen to dwell in their suffering, allowing it to define them. The danger of spending time in such an environment is that bitterness is contagious. At first, it might seem like harmless conversation. Stories of how they were wronged, how the world is unfair, how nothing ever works out for them. But what starts as mere words soon plants seeds of negativity in your own mind. You begin to see the world through their lens. Their grievances become your grievances. Their cynicism starts to creep into your thinking. Slowly, you find yourself echoing their complaints, viewing success with suspicion, and blaming external forces for personal struggles. Bitter people often justify their negativity by convincing themselves and others that their perspective is simply realistic. They believe that optimism is naive, and that expecting good things from life is foolish. But in truth, bitterness is a defense mechanism, a way to avoid taking responsibility for one's future. By believing that life is permanently unfair, they excuse themselves from making the effort to change. They become stuck in a cycle where they see only their failures and never their opportunities. It is easy to feel sympathy for these individuals. Some of them have been deeply hurt and their pain is real. However, sympathy does not mean sacrificing your own mental and emotional well-being. If you continue visiting the homes of the bitter, you will carry their burdens as your own, and before long you will start walking the same path they did. The problem with bitterness is that it demands company. It seeks to pull others down rather than lift anyone up. Protecting yourself from this influence does not mean ignoring suffering or refusing to help those in need. It means understanding that your mindset is your greatest asset, and if you allow bitterness to take hold, it will cloud your vision, limit your potential, and ultimately rob you of the very freedom and happiness you seek. Discipline is the foundation of a successful and meaningful life. It provides structure, stability, and a sense of purpose. Without it, chaos takes over, and nothing of value can be sustained. The home of the undisciplined is a place where order has been abandoned, where routine is non-existent, and where personal responsibility is dismissed as unnecessary. Walking into such an environment is not just stepping into physical disorder. It is entering a mindset that rejects effort, accountability, and self-improvement. At first, the undisciplined lifestyle may appear liberating. The people who live this way often claim to embrace freedom, rejecting strict schedules, expectations, and hard work. They may laugh at those who wake up early, plan their days, and push themselves toward excellence. They believe life should be lived on impulse without the burden of self-restraint. However, this illusion of freedom quickly crumbles under the weight of its consequences. Without discipline, there is no progress. Without consistency, there is no mastery. Without effort, there is no achievement. When you spend time in the home of the undisciplined, their habits begin to influence you. You might tell yourself that one missed responsibility doesn't matter, that a little disorder is harmless, but small compromises turn into larger ones. Over time, your standards begin to slip. You start excusing laziness, delaying important tasks, and losing sight of your goals. The problem is that discipline, once lost, is difficult to regain. It takes months, even years, to build strong habits, but only days to undo them. The undisciplined person often blames circumstances for their lack of control. They claim they were never given the right opportunities, that life has been unfair, or that they simply aren't built for structure. But discipline is not a personality trait. It is a choice, reinforced by consistent action. Those who reject it are not victims of fate. They are victims of their own unwillingness to take control. Avoiding the influence of the undisciplined is not about looking down on others. It is about protecting your own ability to stay on the path of growth. If you surround yourself with people who lack discipline, you will be tempted to lower your own standards. But if you hold yourself to a higher level of responsibility, you will attract those who strive for the same. Success is not the result of talent or luck. It is the inevitable outcome of disciplined effort. Envy is one of the most corrosive emotions a person can harbor. It distorts reality, turning someone else's success into a personal attack. When you enter the home of an envious person, you step into an atmosphere of quiet resentment, where achievement is viewed with suspicion and admiration is tainted with bitterness. These individuals see life as a competition where someone else's gain must mean their own loss. They do not celebrate success, they resent it. At first, their attitude may seem subtle. They might make passing comments about how certain people got lucky or how the system is rigged against them. They may downplay the hard work of others, implying that success is always the result of external factors rather than effort and perseverance. The danger in spending time with such individuals is that their perspective begins to influence your own. You might start questioning whether your accomplishments are truly deserved or whether others are unfairly ahead of you. Envy shifts the focus away from self-improvement and toward resentment, causing people to see obstacles instead of opportunities. The envious do not just wish for success, they wish for others to fail. This is what makes their mindset so destructive. Instead of striving to better themselves, they invest energy in tearing others down. They may disguise their resentment as social justice, intellectual critique, or moral superiority, but at its core, envy is about wanting to see others brought down to the same level of dissatisfaction. If you are not careful, their way of thinking will start shaping your own attitudes. Instead of feeling inspired by the achievements of others, you may begin to feel threatened. Instead of working harder, you may start looking for excuses. it is important to recognize that success is not a limited resource. One person's victory does not take away from another's potential. Those who are secure in themselves see success as something to strive for, not. The envious, however, operate from a mindset of scarcity. They believe that if someone else rises, they must fall. This mentality will drag you down, keeping you focused on what you lack rather than what you can build. Protecting yourself from envy means surrounding yourself with people who celebrate growth, both their own and that of others. If you remain in the company of the envious for too long, their resentment will begin to infect your mind, and before you know it, you will be fighting battles that were never yours to begin with. Self-deception is one of the most dangerous traps a person can fall into. It creates a false sense of security, making people believe that reality will bend to their wishes rather than requiring them to adapt. When you enter the home of the self-deceived, you step into an environment where truth is ignored, hard work is undervalued, and fantasy is mistaken for possibility. These individuals construct narratives that protect them from discomfort, even if those narratives prevent them from making real progress in life. At first, their way of thinking might seem harmless, even optimistic. They may speak about their big plans, their dreams of success, and the great things they believe will come their way. But when you look closer, you realize that their actions do not align with their words. They talk about starting a business but never take the first step. They claim they are destined for greatness but refuse to develop the necessary skills. They convince themselves that their failures are always someone else's fault, that the world is against them, or that their time will come without any real effort on their part. The danger in spending time with the self-deceived is that their mindset is comforting. It is easy to believe that success is simply a matter of fate rather than discipline. It is tempting to think that hard work is unnecessary, that everything will eventually fall into place. This is how self-deception spreads. It offers an escape from reality, making people feel good about where they are while keeping them stagnant. If you surround yourself with those who live in delusion, you may begin to adopt their way of thinking. You might start making excuses for your own inaction, convincing yourself that things will work out without the necessary effort. Reality, however, does not operate on wishful thinking. No amount of self-deception can change the fact that success requires sacrifice, discipline, and persistence. Those who refuse to accept this truth will remain trapped in their illusions, watching life pass them by while blaming external forces for their stagnation. If you want to build a meaningful life, you must be willing to face reality, no matter how uncomfortable it may be. That means avoiding the influence of those who reject the truth and instead surrounding yourself with people who embrace responsibility, effort, and growth. In the end, self-deception offers temporary comfort, but reality always demands payment. Every choice you make has consequences, shaping who you are and determining the course of your life. The environments you place yourself in, the people you surround yourself with, and the values you adopt will either elevate you or drag you down. No one is immune to influence. Even the strongest individuals are affected by the company they keep. What you choose to expose yourself to will gradually mold your mindset, behaviors, and ultimately your destiny. People often underestimate the power of small decisions. They assume that visiting a certain place or spending time with certain people will have no lasting impact. But just like drops of water carve into stone over time, repeated exposure to negativity, disorder, and self-deception will shape your thinking without you even realizing it. You may start to see bitterness as justified, laziness as freedom, envy as fairness, and delusion as optimism. Slowly, your standards lower, your discipline weakens, and your ambitions fade. The problem is that the effects of influence are rarely immediate. If someone stepped into a toxic environment and felt an instant, overwhelming change in their personality, they would leave right away. But that is not how it works. Influence is subtle. It creeps in through conversations, attitudes, and unspoken expectations. You may not even notice that your perspective is shifting until one day you wake up and realize you have become someone you never intended to be. This is why it is so crucial to be intentional about where you invest your time and energy. The people you associate with should challenge you to grow, not drag you into complacency. The places you visit should inspire discipline, not encourage excuses. The mindsets you adopt should be rooted in reality, not in resentment or fantasy. If you are not careful, the wrong influences will pull you off course before you even realize you have strayed. The truth is that you do not rise above your environment, you become a reflection of it. If you choose to surround yourself with strong, disciplined, and ambitious individuals, their habits will rub off on you. If you choose to spend time in places filled with bitterness, envy, or disorder, those qualities will become a part of you as well. Your choices today shape your future self. What you choose in the end chooses you.